We continue learning Dirshu Mishnah Berurah Elchais Betzias Hapas Siman Kuf Samoch Achas. From the middle of these difficult halachas of Pas Haba B'Kisnin, and we pick it up from Sif Tes. Again, I'm very aware that Sivav, Siv Zayin, Siv Ches were deep, were intense, required much iyun, but hopefully step number one is to understand just the words of the Mishnah Berurah, and then those on their own can go listen to other shiurim and delve a bit deeper. Maybe even one day we'll give a shiur a little bit more in depth as to what is possible b'kisnin and understanding a little bit deeper pizza, etc., etc. But for now, let's learn a sif test. It says the mechaber pas a gamur. This is really an idea, an offshoot of that which we've mentioned a few times over the previous shiurim. Pas gamur, bread. Afilu pachas mekazayis, even less than a kazayis, mevarich alav ha'moitzi. Aval la'achar avin mevarich klom kol shloich al kazayis. Afterwards, you do not make a bracha unless you ate a kazayis. Says the Mishnah Berurah Sevkatan Memzayin pachas make kazayis for what did afilu al koldu, even on one dot also on his ben olam hazeh b'loi bracha, which of course is the rule about the bracha rishaynos, that you never have a quantity necessary to be eaten for a bracha rishayna. Even a koldu, even one little bit, obligates one in eating, in making a bracha rishayna. Klom sivkatim emches hainu lo berach samaz lo shabracha achrein, if you did not have a kizayis. And we continue with sif yod chavitza. What is a chavitza? Explains the mechaber dahainu, which is perurei lechem, bread crumbs shedidvalkin yachal adei marok, that are stuck together via soup. Im nitba shelim yishbem kazayis, if they're cooked and there is in them a kazayis afal, even though shein by toyar lechem. And we learned in the previous year that the toyar, the appearance of bread, is an critical ingredient. But still, says the Mishnah Berurah, if it does not have a toyar lechem over here on these bread crumbs that are sitting inside the soup, without the toyar lechem, what is the halacha? Then, even though it does not have toyar lechem, still you make mavarich hamoitzi berach samazim. But the main bem kazayis aval pish and yirash bem toyar lechem. On the flip side, if it has a if it's not a kazayis, it looks like bread. So this is a confusing entity. This entity called chavitza. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah before we go any further. Sivkatan Memtes in the Mishnah Berurah to understand a little bit deeper what exactly is this item. Says the Mishnah Berurah chavitza Sivkatan Memtes aktim lozeh sif hakdama Kitzara. And in case you're a little bit confused, Mishnah Berurah felt that might be the case. Therefore, he said, let me give you a little bit of a akdam. There are three oifanim of that which we're talking about. Number one is pas sheper lepurim bishlai. You crush up bread and then you bake it. Totally bazeh. If it has a kazayis, it did not lose its name of pas. I feel like it doesn't look like bread anymore. But then even if it looks like bread, the shame tavshil olav. This is pas bread that you crushed up. So maybe to give some examples are hard, but maybe to give examples, we would say a soup, croutons. Sometimes they take bread and they just chop it up into big chunks. So that is a hamaitzi. And the truth is, it still does often have a toyer lechem. You can tell it's bread, but even if not, maybe it's fried or whatnot, still those croutons would be a hamaitzi. But if they're very small, even though you could tell that they're called bread crumbs, still they would not be hamaitzi, they would just be a mizaynis. Number two, imlay bishlay. And of course, I'm assuming that these items go through a bishla process, which means cooking them in water. If not, then it comes into the category number two of imlay bishlay. If you do not cook them, you just crushed up the bread, and now the bread crumbs are combined together through honey or soup. If they still have the appearance of bread, then you make hamaitzi. Even if the pieces are not a kazayis. They made bem tayr lechem. If they do not have the appearance of bread, so level number 2 is going to be the bread is not cooked. It's not placed in water. What did he do? You just crushed up the bread, and now it's stuck together with honey or other items, or the stam, you crush it into the soup. So now it just depends if it looks like bread. If it looks like bread, you make hamaitzi, even if they're very, very small pieces. And that would be a case of Shabbos, Suda. You take a challah, you crush it into your soup. Still looks like bread, you make hamaitzi. But if it doesn't look like bread anymore, maybe you crush it very small, etc., then it would be a mezainis. And now number 3, kshalei bishal, you didn't cook it. V'gam lo nischabra brun yach leidei amashke. It didn't even combine together. They're just crumbs. Afilim abrun dakin kisos bevarach aleim hamaitzi. If you take a bread, crush it up, and you have in your plate just dots of bread, nothing else, it's bread. You make hamaitzi. The shein pas aleim, it's a regular shein pas. V'atin avar es asif hazeh be'yizer Hashem yisbarach. With that, Akdama says Mishtabura. Now we can delve into the sif. If it's cooked, there's no difference whether it's connected or not. V'nikate is that, and why did the Mishtabura, why did the Shulchan Aruch discuss this case? If the bread is sitting in the water till the water turns white, this is similar to stuck together. And of course, anyone who's thinking this is going to be the precursor to the schnitzel shayla, to the breadcrumb shayla, etc. So now, let's go back to the Mechaber for a moment. If nispashel, then it's up to as a kazayis even without a tayr lechem. If it's not, and if it doesn't have it, then it makes hamaitzi. Again, so what's case number 1? It's kazayis without the tayr lechem, you make hamaitzi. Says Mr. Burris of Katan and Beis, Im nitbashel, hainu shenasam lechem b'kli rishon, you put the bread into a kli rishon kshaman aleish, or maybe this is matzah brai, or maybe this is French toast. If you make French toast by crushing up the bread, you put the bread into kli rishon when it's sitting on the fire. Oh, it's very hot. Avol b'kli sheni loy choshe bishul, says the Mr. Burris. Putting bread in a kli sheni is not considered bishul. V'dinai kamai, but even hasheni, that's going to be like the next case. If it has the appearance of bread, mavarich hamaitzi av bibachos and make kazayis, then you're going to make hamaitzi even less than a kazayis. V'davka, says Mr. Bura, and loy nisnabin amayim alidei lechem. Aval nisnabin amayim kederach shamatzi kishnei baz amayim chamin. If the water turns white, like when the bread is placed into hot water, mavarich masif yud aleph. That itself makes that it doesn't have a tayr lechem, which is part of the reason why deep fried is going to become such an issue, as it's going to lose that tayr lechem. If you have the crumbs in a plate and you pour onto it from boiling hot water, it's a suffix. If they're not a kazayis, make a bracha on something else, because it's confusing. But if it is a kazayis, one of the pieces, it's going to be matzah bra. You crush a matzah, you put it into boiling hot water. So if there are pieces that are kazayis, it retains its hamaitzi. If there are not pieces that are kazayis, and the water is klirisha and boiling hot, then it loses its sheim lachem, and then it's no longer a hamaitzi, then it becomes a mizoines. Kazayis have gotten and dalad ratzalam me aprusa atzma shavar chalaba kazayis mikoidim loy nivchasa mishir zali de bishul loy misarfino la mashal isbark of chaversel shenisbach alidei hamashcha aval pi shein boy kima sheishbo kazayis on isbatu menu sheim lachem. And now we are up to the Mechaber continues that if it's not a kazayis, aval bisha nira sheyesh ba tayr lechem, even though it looks like bread, you ain't a mavarich, only going to make a mezainis and a al hamichya. Says Mishabur Sefkat Nunvav shenira the kivan shenitbashal ino chashav tayr lechem. Once the bread is cooked, it's no longer considered that it has the appearance of bread. Vim loy bishla, if it was not cooked b'kdeira. It was fried in a frying pan. If it was fried in the Magen Avraham, it sounds like it's not bishul. Or mahani batar lechem, and it has to do with the appearance of bread. So what do? You fried the bread, and now you're not sure what to do. Says Mishra, don't eat it if it looks like bread. Unless you're in the middle of a suda. This is where we see that when something is a proper something, it's not just, oh, do what you want. No, you have to posture it so you eat it during a meal. Avantigin proves that Sheshman Kazayis still has a Kazayis of bread. Afilu Azal La Tayer Lechem Pashit Mavarach Hamoiti Chinal Bevishal V'Chol Shkein Ba Zeh. It's Pashit that still has a Hamoiti if it looks like bread. Finally, Sivgatin and Zayin Ina Mavarich Elam Zaynais if it's less than a Kazayis Da. Cholani Shiniska for Sivzeh B'Sivin Sha'achra Afilu Kavas Udas Aleim V'Akadesiya Mavarei Barminim Zed V'Achra Mein Shalosh. This is where this is a new category, not like the previous categories of possible B'Kisnin. Previous sifim when we discussed possible B'Kisnin, the halacha was that it's a bread type item that you make a mezainis on. But once you have enough, that's a kaviyah suda, then you wash because it's a suda. These items, because of the manner in which it was crushed, the manner in which it was baked, it was cooked, I should say, it was fried, it loses its shem lechem. It's not considered bread anymore. Then it will never be a bread, regardless how much you have. And with that, we actually will pause over here in the middle, and we'll pick it up from here, and we'll take the second half of the sif for the next year. B'siyata Dishmaya.